Year he. You ever dreamed of a quest?
Yeah!
Alright, how about a personal life experience quest? Come on now, get your goals done and not be overwhelmed as you blend science fiction, fantasy, and more with the Hero's Journal. Seriously, I'm always told to journal, and this just made it 50 times easier, and majorly fun too. You can use this code, UnlikelyPlaces10, at checkout for a 10% discount on your next order at theheroesjournal.co.
Yeah!
It's funny what you can come up with when you don't have any choice. You've got to lay the golden egg. You know, you've got there's no more powerful songwriting tool for me than a deadline.
Aloha, this is Jeff Cotton of Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band.
Hi, this is Terry Draper from Class 2.
Hey, this is Paul Chastain.
Hey, what's up? This is Thomas Ian Nicholas of Rookie of the Year, American Pie.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Kitty's fan club.
Vic from Star Collector.
Dino Troy.
Owen Radford.
This is Josh Bradley.
Hey, this is Mason.
And Paul of CAT Scan.
Paul Collins of The Nerves.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Final Man Jeb.
Let's just have a chat down here.
You're listening to Mad Wasp Radio.
Ow! Hey everybody, this is your host, Final Man Jeb of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio podcast section. Today you're here with Jim Tyrrell. Jim is signed to Robo Jack Records now, but he has tons of history in his career, and this episode covers all of his albums. We try to get one song from each of the albums, and we just try to get it going, man. Jim is a good friend of mine, and we got to play together in Connecticut now twice on the same stage for the Robo Jack Bash, the Cellar in Treadwell, and we also did play at 10 Selden together. Enjoy this episode, listen closely, and learn something new. Jim is sure to excite. His music is very exciting.
Oh man, it started as early as I can remember. Really, it's always been kind of a fascination for me, and I'm largely self-taught, at least from the outset. Just kind of experimenting with a piano and figuring it all out. I got involved in high school programs and stuff like that, but for the most part, my music theory journey was kind of an individual one.
Very interesting. Yeah, I know some people, they come and say, like, you know, usually they went to go learn it, or they kind of like went to school for it, stuff like that. So it's good to hear that it's kind of more self-focused, and you still had a little bit of the education in there as well, which is very cool.
Well, it's a lot easier now,
yeah,
you know, with the internet and resources that are available now.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah, you can certainly make a lot of progress on your own, for sure.
Well, it's definitely crazy how you can just go on YouTube now and like, all right, I want to learn this song, or you can go on Guitar Tabs, learn any song, and if it isn't there, you just wait a couple months and it'll be there. You know, it's like, whoa.
Exactly.
It's like I learned Jellyfish songs from Guitar Tabs, and I was just like, wow, Posey songs too. And I'm like, wait, people know these guys? You know, like it's something they're like, oh, right. Wow, there's actually tabs that I could learn from. And it's such a great resource, as being that I'm in a Badfinger tribute band. I find myself using the Badfinger tabs more than anything, because I'm like, all right, I got to learn as much as I can here. From there on, you know, what caused you to go into wanting to actually record, and what inspired that?
Well, when I was starting out, I was really a piano player, but it was easier to get jobs if you walked into a restaurant or a bar with a guitar. So I said to myself, you know, I need to bring my guitar skills up a little bit, but I didn't have a real strong guitar repertoire at the time. And I was a little self-conscious about it. So I said to myself, you know, if I start writing songs on this thing, then nobody can tell me I'm doing them wrong. So I just kind of started composing, working with the sounds that were coming out of the instrument. And it was nice. It was a fresh sound. It was much different than my piano approach. So that's where a lot of that early songwriting started.
And then you have your first record, Onward to Yesterday, coming out in 2010. Was there music before that was released? Way before 2010?
Actually,
or?
Yeah, there was a record in 2007. And it's not online, although a couple of the songs appear on my retrospective CD. I put that record together because I got an opportunity to play a second stage show for Weird Al Yankovic at one of our local venues here in New Hampshire. At the time, it was called Meadowbrook. It's the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion now. Very nice people over there, and they bring in local acts to sort of act as early support, kind of. It's not an opening gig exactly, but they have a separate stage, and it's a lot of fun.
just to kind of bring in people to get ready and enjoy being there in the first place. And then, hey, wait around a little bit. Big name is going to be next, I like that.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Cool.
It's a fun thing to do, and they're great people over there. They certainly take care of their artists for sure.
Good to hear that.
Yeah. So, like I said, I wanted to have something to put out front. So I made a 2007 record that had 14 or 15 songs on it, and a couple of them have survived to my retrospective. If I had hits, that would be my greatest hits record, I guess.
Yeah, and we were so happy to be able to do that for you on Robo Jack Records. It was something we were like, well, we kind of want to give, there's more to you than just this new album that you have coming out. And we'll speak about that a little bit as well a little later here. But
sure.
We're so excited about that here at the team at Robo Jack and Unlikely Places. But I wanted to say, too, is just like something so special that we wanted to bring something like a retrospective in, because there's so much to you more than just, okay, he has a single. Oh, yeah, okay, the French Toast single, okay. Stuff like that. There's just way more to you than that.
My name is Aaron, and she talks.
$10 was...
I know you probably didn't want me to wake you, but I couldn't really tell if you were sleeping or dead. Hey Ruth, cause when you sit there barely breathing, what the hell am I supposed to do? You got me going out of my head. Hey Ruth, well do you think the boss will notice that you're sleeping in your cubicle alone there at the end of the hall? Hey Ruth, with all the meetings and the quotas, do you ever stop to think about the reason that you do it at all? I remember when you started back in 93. I saw you filing and I knew you were the one for me. I asked you out but you were married to the industry. You traded what you had for what you thought you ought to be. Hey Ruth, if anybody could have seen you 20 years ago, they never would have guessed that you would end up this way. Hey Ruth, they'd probably wonder where the fire went that used to light your eyes before you signed up for your permanent stay. Hey Ruth, I'm only trying to survive, and I can tell you that it makes it better just to know that you've got a friend. Hey Ruth, I don't know what it is that drives you, but what good is it to get there just to find yourself alone in the end? You worked your way through all the corporate insanity to get promoted just to satisfy your vanity. Now you're the president in charge of all calamities. They moved your desk right underneath the sword of Damocles. You started back in 93. I saw you filing and I knew you were the one for me. I asked you out but you were married to the industry. You traded what you had for what you thought you ought to be. Hey Ruth, I know you probably didn't want me to wake you, but I couldn't really tell if you were sleeping or dead. Hey Ruth, cause when you sit there barely breathing, what the hell am I supposed to do? You got me going out of my head. Hey Ruth, I know you probably didn't want me to wake you, but I couldn't really tell if you were sleeping or dead. Hey Ruth, cause when you sit there barely breathing, what the hell am I supposed to do? You got me going out of my head.
When you started to get into doing Onward to Yesterday, what was the inspiration to getting an album out and out on streaming and all that as well?
Well, at the time I was working a lot. I say working. I was participating in an online songwriting competition called Songfight at songfight.org. It's still going. What they do is they post a song title about every week and a half or so, and you have about a week and a half to write, record, and submit a song for that title. Anybody in the world can do it. It's entirely open.
Oh, wow.
And then they post all the songs they get. People vote on the one they like the best, and then I don't win, and then they do it again. It's the general routine.
Oh, okay.
But I have won a few in my time there. I've been doing it since about 2004.
Oh, wow.
And I don't do it religiously. I'm not in for every one.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, sometimes there are gaps of years between my entries, but I always look at it. I always kind of stay in touch with the very active community there. There's a lot of good independent songwriters that make a lot of good music over there.
I'll have to check it out myself. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, you absolutely should, Jim. I think you'd love it. And I just started compiling material there, and eventually I was like, well, I'm playing a lot of shows. I want to put some of this new original material in front of people. So it was time for another record.
And then it's just perfectly timing to keep that going. And I mean, this record's great. It's got 12 songs. I'm loving this. And some of the songs are also on the retrospective as well. Actually, a lot of the songs are on the retrospective, because this is probably the one that had the most on the retrospective, as what I'm seeing here, I think. But congratulations on getting the retrospective out. I love it. And it's one of our favorite releases that we have on our record label. Don't tell anybody else. We love everybody equally. We love everything that comes through our doors, and just honored to do all this stuff. And, songs like, what was the inspiration here? I'll get a few songs. Maybe I'll pick two from this album that I like.
Sure.
How about, let's go over... Fight the Sea. Let's do that one first. That's one of my all-time favorites of yours. What was the inspiration behind writing that one?
Well, my wife at the time, I'm no longer married, but we still get along famously, and we have young boys that we're raising, and they're all doing great. My oldest is actually playing shows now. I'm going to play a show with him tonight.
Ooh.
But my ex-wife at the time, Celeste, had this recurring nightmare about being kind of caught in riptide at sea and not being able to make her way to the shore. And I thought it was really indicative of a lot of kind of personal stress and stuff. And I could relate to it in a way. And the song title ended up coming up at Song Fight. And I was like, oh, I have to explore this. So that's how that song developed.
That is definitely like destiny right there. When you're thinking about something and all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, can you write a song about this? Yes, I can. Been thinking about it for too long.
Yes. Yeah. And it happens more often if you compile ideas and you're ready for that intersection.
I think it's like you're manifesting it in a sense. Like you're manifesting the idea to show up because you're already pre-thinking about it,
Yeah, or at the very least, you're preparing for it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good place to be.
At 5 a.m, she wakes from the dream. It's as if she'd stayed awake. She leaves the house yawning and crawls through the day. Not sure how much she can take. She spends the day dreading the night, afraid that she'll start to lose sight of where the dream ends and the real world begins. She tries to remember what it's like to be sane, and then tries to act that way. The people around her, they say that she's changed. She don't hear a word that they say. She fights it as long as she can, but soon it's more than she can stand. She closes her eyes and she gives in sleep. She dreams of the sea, alone on the ocean, and here comes the wave, 100 feet high. There is no escape, and still she's determined to try. She swims for the shore, there's no way to make it. You can't fight the sea, you just hope to survive. And just as before, the undertow pulls her away. She's got the energy to get through again, to try to break free. She lays down to spend another night fighting the sea.
It's very cool. And I'll go into another song for you that I really enjoyed on this album. Was God Hates Penguins. Tell me about that one. Owen loves this one too. I think we were humming it way too much after we heard it for the first time. We were both singing it. So
that song was the last one that was included on the record, and I didn't intend to put it on there, honestly.
Wow.
It was a song fight title. And it was a title that came out not long after the theatrical release of March of the Penguins. So at the time, I felt like, oh, well, this is a little bit, straight across the plate. But what I said to myself is, okay, I'm going to just write something that is as straightforward as possible. If they're going to pitch it straight across the plate, I'm going to try to hit it straight through the outfield. I basically decided, okay, I'm going to use the Beatles as my musical template for this, and I hopefully that comes through.
Yeah, I definitely hear it. I hear something like a Lennon-ish kind of like satirical worldview that he always had within the Beatles.
Right. And, it always interests me to listen to songs that talk about the existence of God and his place in the world. It's obviously it's a universal lifetime kind of thing to think about. And some of my favorite musicians have really dealt with this interestingly in song. And I don't like to be too preachy. I don't like to lead people in one direction or another too strongly when it comes to that. I have my own beliefs, but I also wanted to kind of, put a foot in that and kind of touch on it without being preachy, and singing about penguins is an easy way to add some levity to that. So this seemed like a good opportunity to kind of stretch a little bit. That's what I'm always looking for when I'm writing a song, is to just explore something new.
Yeah, and it shows that, like, hey, I have my views, but my music is everybody's view. Everybody can come into my music and have their own point of view taken away from it. And penguins are just so fun. They're mystical creatures, man. Hey, they're supposed to be birds, but they barely can fly,
If I were some sort of universal creator, I don't think it would ever occur to me to make a penguin.
Every creature, great and small, they say the Lord God made them all. but I would question what he calls okay. God hates penguins, that's for sure. What else could it be? Why else would they have to fly the frozen sea? God made penguins' lives absurd, but not if it was me. 'Cause why would I design a life of misery? He who made the mighty owl made the flightless waterfowl. It makes me wonder if it's just a game. God hates penguins, I suppose, and only God knows why. It makes me wonder what he thinks of you and I. I find that for it all they just don't mind. And is a life untested a life at all? Does God hate penguins? I don't know. Sometimes it seems that way. But we may find that he could change his mind someday. And through the sky we'll watch the penguins fly.
We're going to move into another record of yours, moving up a year to 2011. Time for another round, gold edition here. How did that one come about?
It started as a 6-song EP.
Ooh, okay, much more now. I love it.
Yeah, it was called 3 Pints Irish,
okay.
Which was basically if I was playing a show and anybody asked me if I had any Irish in me, I would say, well, about 3 pints.
Got you.
But what happened was there's a local restaurant bar called the Lucky Dog, and they asked me if I could come in and play for St. Patrick's Day. And I said, I know a couple Irish songs. I can mix them into my regular set. You guys know what I do, right? And they're like, yeah, it's really casual. It'll be no problem. And then the next week I look in the paper and they've advertised the show as 4 hours of Celtic music starring Jim Tyrrell.
Oh, my God.
And of course I panicked. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. So I said, okay, here's the 2 things I'm going to do to make this work. 1, I'm going to figure that everybody's so drunk after 2 hours that I can repeat all of the songs. And 2, I'm going to start writing songs because, again, if I write a song and it sounds like it's traditional Irish, nobody can tell me I'm doing it wrong, you know? So I'll just take ownership of the material. And
yeah,
I ended up only getting 6 songs done for that project. But they survived. They all made it to that record. And then the following year, I decided to kind of build the repertoire because I really like playing St. Patrick's Day shows. And the next batch of songs was written during something called the RPM Challenge here in New Hampshire. It's a thing where you try to take the month of February to write a 10-song or 35-minute album. Just
Really?
get it done in a month.
Wow. That's awesome.
Well, the Song Fight guys, they used to take part in a side project called Album a Day.
Whoa.
Which was literally you lock yourself in the studio for 24 hours and you come out with at least 6 songs.
That's awesome. Like that stuff I would thrive on. I would love doing that because it keeps your mind busy, especially for an active mind like mine that doesn't shut off. It would be like a way to tire it. You know, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's frantic, but it's funny what you can come up with when you don't have any choice. You've got to lay the golden egg. You know, you've got there's no more powerful songwriting tool for me than a deadline.
Yeah,
that's the most important tool in the box.
I agree that, and not just with songwriting. I agree a deadline in life has really helped me. I had to start. I never was scheduled. You can see right from the beginning of the label, we had a lot of envisions, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh wow, it all caught up. And we really were excited about everything going on. We're happy to have everybody that we have. But then I was like, all right, I got to start deadlining stuff. I got to put in that I need a contract by this day and this thing. We need to write this up. We need to have this done. And I realized I could actually apply that to my own life. What do I need to get done this week? What's the most important? And it became a lot better structure for me, and I'm not as stressed anymore. There was a whole month where I was like, how do I do life? This is not even worth, sometimes you throw the extreme out because you're so frustrated that you can't figure it all out. But I wanted to move into one of your songs from this album. We'll do 2 from this album as well. And it's one of my favorites. You're going, these are all from the retrospective. And I'm like, yeah, they are, but I'm covering them for places here. I'm going to do the Harvard line. I love that song. So tell me about that one.
That one was fun to write. When I was doing these songs, I was playing rooms that were really, the listeners at these St. Patrick's Day shows were very influenced by Dropkick Murphys and some of the heavier stuff. And I knew that I wasn't going to get there on an acoustic guitar, but I wanted to incorporate something that was upbeat and that was perhaps singing about public irresponsible drunkenness, because those things play well at the bar. So I started writing about this experience that is loosely based on a true story. I certainly did some travel down in the Boston area when I was young. I would hitchhike down for a weekend and just see what kind of things I could find, and then just make my way back up here to New Hampshire. And some of that kind of influenced the story that takes place here, although at its heart, it really is fiction.
Hungover on a bright white Monday, heading into Boston town, all alone on a red line subway, 9 o'clock and on Park Street bound. Oh, what a weekend, my bones are creaking, feeling like I'm half alive, but in the pocket of my jacket, there's something helping me survive. I owe it all to the barley wine, the one cure for the morning time. Another drink and I'll be just fine, I'll sneak in a bottle on the harbor line. Sleep still in their eyes. I tell them we should fear no evil. We've got to keep our spirits high. We'll fill the time cards, then back to Harvard. But hold on to your handles, men. We're either listing hard to starboard, or I've gone and fallen down again. I owe it all to the barley wine, the one cure for the morning time. Another drink and I'll be just fine. I'm sneaking a bottle on the Harvard line. With determination, not a map I can't understand. I've ended up in a blue line station by the name of a wonderland. And after quite a long inspection, a young attendant turns me around, points me in the right direction. 2 o'clock and I'm hardward bound. I owe it all to the barley wine, the one cure for the morning time. Another drink and I'll be just fine. I'm sneaking a bottle on the harbor line. I owe it all to the barley wine, the one cure for the morning time. Another drink and I'll be just fine. I'm sneaking a bottle on the harbor line.
And then next up, I have one that I don't think is in the retrospective. It's on this album. I'm finally picking one that isn't on the retrospective, but it's The Wall. Tell me about that one.
The Wall. There was a bar in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and it was notorious because Plymouth is a college town. People would go down there and try to drink The Wall. Are you familiar with this activity, Jeremy?
No, I am not actually. So educate me on this one. Educate our viewers as well. I've been to Plymouth once. I've seen the Rock, and I've seen where the ships come in, and I've been once when I was like 8. So I wouldn't know about the
different
Wall.
Plymouth.
Oh, different.
That's actually the Plymouth down in Massachusetts. And gotcha. I've been like working at gas stations in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and have people ask me where the Rock is, and I'm like, well, you got to drive a few hours.
You got to go to the other state. Yeah, even me. You look at me, so I don't know. No, that answers your question.
It happens.
Educate me.
But no, Plymouth State University is up here in central New Hampshire. We're kind of at the base of the White Mountains, and there's a bar right downtown, and they have every beer that they have in stock. They have a bottle of each of these beers up on a top shelf above the bar. That is The Wall. And the idea is that you go into the bar and you go as early in the day as you can, because you're going to drink one of every beer that's on the wall.
Oh, jeez.
I've only pulled this off twice, but it was in a different bar. It was a much smaller bar. They only had 3 beers in stock. So I did The Wall twice that day. I was very proud of myself.
Oh, there you go.
But no, The Wall at this particular local bar was legendary for the local college kids. And some people say they've done it, but I find it very hard to believe that people would have gotten through that much beer. Maybe if Wade Boggs was in town, he might have pulled it off, or Andre the Giant, or somebody legendary.
Big and legendary.
No, I never came close, but there were certainly. I started asking people about their experiences there, and that's how this song got built, because I knew that I wanted to commemorate that place and that kind of space in town, especially because the show that I was playing that was the inception of all of this was in Plymouth.
Oh,
so cool. I wanted to kind of celebrate local folk history.
Say, we'll get to the end if it takes us all day. So line them right up and we'll get through them all. We're working our way down the wall. Bartender, let's make this thing clear. We're drinking that whole row of beer. We'll hand in our keys if that's what you please, 'cause we're planning on staying right here. Singing away, what do you say? We'll get to the end if it takes us all day. So line them right up and we'll get through them all. We're working our way down the wall. Well, Stacy is looking unsound. She just left from her stool with a bound. She threw up all that drink in the ladies' room sink, and she's back in time for the next round. Singing away, hey, what do you say? We'll get to the end if it takes us all day. So line them right up and we'll get through them all. We're working our way down the wall. Oh, come on, we're making good time. So far I'm still doing fine, but my stomach's betrayed by that hard lemonade that they stuck near the end of the line. Just plug your nose and get through it, boys. Stay with me now. Hey, what do you say? We'll get to the end if it takes us all day. So line them right up and we'll get through them all. We're working our way down the wall. Is finally in sight, but to say we're relieved isn't right. See, the end is the pits, 'cause we're stuck with a Schlitz as the very last beer of the night. Singing away, hey, what do you say? We got to the end and it took us all day, and that's just as well, 'cause we can't drink no more, and we're working
So we're going to move up now to the record that I think I know you from. This is how I met you. This is True Stories from a Small World. And going about how did that come about? How did that come into play? And then we'll go into I'm going to pick 3 songs from this one. Almost I want to pick 4, but I'll do just 3. Cuz this is the album I know. I have this I have 2 copies of it, 1 sealed, 1 opened, 3 others. You and I, this is how we met, and definitely go into going about this. Tell me about this one.
Sure. Well, this was another one where I was kind of compiling work through Songfight and through other things. And I was kind of putting my demos together and just figuring out how I was going to record these. I wanted to get a little bit better quality, and maybe I would bring myself to a studio or kind of outsource some of the work. And that's when I met Ken Stringfellow. He was playing a show in Asheville, North Carolina. And he mentioned that he was a record producer. So we stayed in touch, and I was able to hire him to do the recording and the mixing for that record. And then it was mastered at a company in Seattle that he was able to refer me to. This was the first time that I worked with other musicians on my record as well. Todd Moses played drums on the entire record. And I brought in a bass player, a local guy named Steve McBrien, for one of the songs, French Toast. He played bass on that. And it was good. It was really good to work with other people. Obviously, Ken brought a bunch of great ideas to the songs. If you were to go to Songfight and listen to the original demos for these songs, you'd find that they transformed quite a bit during this process.
I'll have to see if I can find those, because I would love to just hear the early to the I love that, like the end product type thing, because this album is very good. Remember when I first heard it, I was like blown away. And little did I know that it was going to bring us to know each other even more on a level of actually being your record label. I remember hearing Pencil Me In was one of my favorites, so we're going to go right into that.
Well, that's an interesting song for me, because that's like God Hates Penguins. It's a one that I'm a little self-conscious about. This song is really about the need for there to be some sort of specific external spark for me to really work on a song project. Sometimes it's the song title that's provided by Songfight. Sometimes it's a specific event or something like that. But it's just about looking for that thing that will be the spark that starts the fire. All of the tinder is there. The machine is built. I know how to write songs, but I just need that spark, that idea. And, that's really where this was born. It was from a side project over at Songfight, which was more of an elimination contest. And the first round, the song title they gave us was Pencil Me In. And I was like, again, it feels like that's pretty across the plate for a first round title. But this is where I ended up going with it. And my original idea was to do it as much more of a bossa nova, like do kind of a Vince Guaraldi kind
very
of feel.
Different than what it became. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely evolved a lot.
I'm never free without conditions. I need a plan, you understand, some kind of mission. So pencil me in, and I can begin to build around it. The way ahead is good as dead to me without it. If it was up to me, I couldn't do much more, because the only thing I need is a temporary target to shoot for. Well, you can say work this way is too dependent. I say at least it gives me a piece that I can send in. So just pencil me in. Give me one thin thread that I can cling to. And with some luck, the end result is gonna ring true. If it was up to me, I couldn't do much more, because the only thing I need is someone to give me a target to shoot for. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Let's talk about French Toast. Tell me about that one.
Well, this was it was also a song fight title, and
I love it.
This was one of those things where they announced the title, and I happened to have the entire house to myself and the day free, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to visit this, and I'm going to see what comes out. At the time, I had been listening to a lot of a band from North Carolina called the Avett Brothers, and I was really struck by how personal their stories were, how it really kind of cut through a lot of the kind of posturing and the nonsense, and they speak in plain language about things that are important to them. And I said, well, okay, let me just take a step back here and talk through song. And what was going on at the time was I was playing a ton of shows, and my time at home was getting more and more valuable. And when I think of French Toast, it makes me very nostalgic for that home and family kind of thing. And I just started writing, and that's where I ended up. When it made it to the studio, Steve McBrien is a stand-up bass player with a local band called the Crunchy Western Boys. They're very, very good. And I brought him in. I brought him in for a recording session, and I remember he showed up with a 6-pack and set up his amp and his bass and stuff. And we were done by the time he got through the first beer. And he was like, well, I thought that was going to take much longer. And we invited him, of course, to stay and drink the rest of his 6-pack if he wanted. I don't think he really did. But it was a very smooth process. He's an incredibly professional musician. He's a very, very good performer. And I think Ken did a bang-up job on that song as well. A lot of the instrumentation you hear is provided by him. I think he did the accordion solo.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it also works really well. Of the material that I write, it works really well with just a guy and acoustic guitar. As guy and guitar songs go, that's probably one of the strongest.
I play a lot of bars and restaurants like this one. Sometimes they feed me, sometimes I gotta pay. Either way, it's a meal, and it's a bad idea to miss one. 'Cause who knows what else I'm gonna find along the way. And it's a long, long road that I follow. But if I drive like hell, I can get myself back home tomorrow. And in the morning I'll be waking up to French toast and bacon, and the road will seem a million miles away. I always tell myself that this time will be different. I'm gonna book my shows with a little time to spare. And that way I can eat my meals at a sit-down diner and not just stop at a gas station here and there. But if I hit that road as soon as I am able, I'll be back with my family round the breakfast table. And in the morning we'll be waking up to French toast and bacon, and the road will seem a million miles away. Can't complain about the way I make my living, but you'd be crazy to think I'm living like a star. My job is basically just moving my equipment with a break in the middle where I get to play guitar. So after this song, my time to work is arriving. I got a little gear to load and I got a shitload of driving. And in the morning I'll be waking up to French toast and bacon, and the road will seem a million miles away. I'm gonna drive all night if I have to. I love it on the road, but now it's home that I'm after. And in the morning I'll be waking up to French toast and bacon, and the world will seem a million miles away. And the world will seem a million miles away.
Let's talk about Week Without Ears, because I really enjoyed promoting that song as well.
Oh my gosh. There was a songfighter, and his name was Blue Lang, and he was a wonderful guy because he would not be afraid to give you a bad review of a song that you submitted.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people are very kind of kid gloves there, and they want to be constructive, and I get that. But the more I did it, the more I realized, Blue's advice is super important because it really cuts to the heart of what the song needs. He was unafraid to pull punches in that regard, and I learned so much from being in his presence. Sadly, he is no longer with us. I'm sorry to hear that. Very sad to say. But he was a wonderful guy, and he was a very good musician himself. He played in a band called Son of Supercar, and they were just fantastic.
Oh, wow.
But Blue had a problem that caused him to lose his hearing for a couple weeks or something like that. And he decided that out of his frustration, he was going to suggest to the songfight community that they have a weekend side fight. And the song title that he gave us was A Week Without Ears. I wrote that song and recorded it in about an hour. And it came through, and it was just a guy and guitar tune. And when I sent it along with the other demos to Ken Stringfellow, I said, I can hear something a little more power pop out of this. Can we lean in that direction?
Definitely.
And of course, that's all he had to say. Ken was all over that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where we ended up. Ken told me that he's not really a soloist when it comes to electric guitar, but he did play the guitar solo on there, and I think he did a bang-up job.
If I could spend to me. There's an echo where my brain should be. And if you took my ears, you'd only trap it in there. If I could be blind for a day, I'd still see the way you looked at me today. There's an image that won't go away, and if you took my eyes, the vision would remain there. It's too late to put up defenses, 'cause you got him behind my senses. If I could spend a week without ears, I would still listen to the words you said, 'cause they made a home inside my head. They get louder every time you speak, so maybe I could try to dump the street. If I could only spend a week without ears. If I could only spend a week, if I could only spend a week, if I could only spend a week without ears.
I want to know, as we come to the end of our show here for you, what is Jim Tyrrell doing nowadays? What's the new album? What do you want to give away?
Okay. I haven't really talked much about the new record yet, because it's kind of still showing itself to me, but it is starting to take shape, and I can give you a little bit on it. The working title for this record is A Box of Shells.
Ooh, I like that.
And it's going to comprise about 10 songs that are built out of song fight entries and side fight stuff and just other stuff that I've been writing. But there's going to be a different feature to this record. I've been kind of following the whole NFT thing, the non-fungible token that people are doing, and I think that is absolutely fascinating, and people are using it in kind of weird ways.
Yeah.
I don't think it really applies to what I do at the level that I do. But one thing I thought would be interesting is a modernized version of something I did back in 2010. When I released Onward to Yesterday, I made 50 pre-order copies of the CD that each had unique, one-of-a-kind cover art.
Oh, wow.
So whoever has that record has the only version
of that record,
of that cover.
Oh, wow.
So that's my version of the NFT. It's a fungible token, I guess.
Yeah, this one you could actually have value to, you know.
That's the thing.
This is not fake, you know.
Now, the pre-order for this, as far as actual physical CDs, is going to be, it's going to include something like 50 or maybe as many as 100 CDs.
Wow.
That'll be the entirety of this special run.
Okay.
But each one is going to feature an absolutely unique, one-of-a-kind instrumental piece as an interlude.
Wow.
In the album.
So something even more unique. Yeah.
It's the only copy that will ever be pressed to CD for this record.
Wow.
So it's just something, a way where a lot of my fans want to be kind of personally involved, and they want to really be able to reach out and have a direct connection. And I want that to be an individual experience for those people.
That's very cool. Yeah.
I've got, you know, obviously it puts a lot more work on my plate as far as development of material, but it's going well. And I love instrumental composition. Honestly, I have a great fun with it.
Somebody was like, I got to collect them all now, Jim. I want to buy them all.
Right.
Only kidding.
Right.
Only kidding. But it's a marketing thing.
Owning more than one.
It's a marketing thing, but it's also a personal thing too. It's a way to say, hey, I value you as a fan. I know there was this vinyl pressing place, and I did it. I did a simple run of Isolated Do. I think there's only one copy in existence where you had to do something special when they press it to vinyl. They would allow you, direct to vinyl is what it was. I think it was La Vista, Leevesta, I think it was. And they would do this direct to vinyl run on these like plastic, like the, clear 45s. And you would do a song. You didn't have to pay a thing. But if you wanted copies, you'd have to buy them. If you didn't make enough money, you just had to buy them. You would just use your profits or whatever to buy them. And I bought one, and one guy got one of Isolated Do. It was the only one ever made. And it was special to him, and the one I got was the marketing one. I could, market my own and sell them, And it was a lot of fun, but it was like every release had to be something different. So I would do a radio intro, since that's my thing. But it would be cool, something like that reminded me of that. And I'll get you hooked up with that if they're still doing that. You might be interested in doing that as well.
Sure.
It's free to do. It's free for artists. So it just reminded me of that kind of thing. But to do it as an actual album, and not as just a service, is very unique. So we're excited to be a pioneer behind our little Robo guy on there for you. Excited for that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
There's only going to be one person in the world who actually owns any one of these particular things on CD, but I want this stuff to also be heard too.
Yeah.
So when the record launches, there's also going to be a web page. And that web page is going to be the box of shells.
Oh, cool.
And each shell is going to have access to an online version of the particular song. So people can go through and they can listen to the entire catalog. And when you click on a shell, it'll say found by and the person who actually backed the project to get the original.
Oh, wow.
So these people are going to have kind of a handprint on this project. It's going to be
we
their
would love
project.
to have the Robo Jack on there, so we'll support you as well. We'd love to have the little robot on one of the shells or something. That'd be great. And we can link it on the site, of course. We'll put it on your page, and people could go visit the box of shells. They might go, what the hell is this? Click on it, and then they got an excitement. I used to love going through old forum sites. There's old Beatles sites where you click on one thing, and it would bring you down a rabbit hole of other clicks, and those websites didn't look too safe, but you're like, I don't care. I'm listening to Beatles cuts that I've never heard before, So it's going to be that old kind of like when the internet first became a thing, people were having really creative website building material and stuff. And we're excited to be, behind that for you and be that record label for you for this. And want to thank you for coming on the show. And definitely, I'll keep you in contact about coming on as a guest co-host. I've been throwing that out to people. So I could do like a radio episode. You pick 8 songs. They don't have to be yours, just 8 songs in general of music you like. And you come co-host a radio show with me for one episode. Be fun.
That would be terrific fun. I would love that.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on. And if you want to say anything more to your viewers before I hit that end button, hit the end record, anything you want to say, go ahead now. The floor is yours.
Oh, I appreciate it. You should go to robojackrecords.com because that's where you'll find me. And that's where you're going to find a bunch of other great music, too. I've really been enjoying listening to the other stuff on the label. Desolation Sound's new record is fantastic. Come on over and hang out with us.
Yeah, we're a family, guys. We really, really appreciate everybody that has been behind us, backing us, everything we do. We're still young as a label. I'm young as a person, too, but we're young as a label. We just started, and it feels like we've been doing this for like 3 years. I don't even know how, but it just feels so natural to be able to do this stuff and the radio show and everything. So, again, thanks, Jim, everybody. Go check out Jim Tyrrell's music, and not just for what we have on Robo Jack, but check out all the deep cuts, too. They're fantastic, and I cannot wait for Box of Shells. I'm excited, or whatever you come up with, past the working title, but very excited for this. This is a cool idea, and hey, it shows your creativity fully in flight. And speaking of flight, I think I'm going to try out Songfight. I think it sounds like a really fun idea to keep my brain going.
Absolutely. Songfight.org. Go take a look, man.
You're tuned into Wasp Radio, so don't forget where you are. Don't change that dial, you don't need to.